I'm one of the few of my reservation that actually moved around. Went to Indian school for quite a while back on a reservation. Went to a Catholic boarding school. Went on to college, and I graduated from Southern Oregon State College in Ashland, Oregon. Then, of course, I'm very proud of the fact that we also have very good partners here in this town, this community. One being the school. But what I want to say, when I talk about is my family. I always bring my family with me because they're very important to me. And this is my father and my mother. My father, besides being a cowboy, and besides being a saddle bronc rider, which he's now inducted into North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, not only because of his saddle bronc riding, but because of his leadership. He was a tribal judge. He was a leader among our reservation. They would bring kids to him. I grew up in a log house. 1, 2, 3. We had four room log house. Kitchen, my sister's room, the living room, and my folks' room. Which means the living room was my brother and I's bedroom. That was our living room. And that's our home place right there. That's my dad and I feeding cows. We got through feeding cows. And so with a team of horses, that's all we had back in those days. I think we just got a car or something like that back when I was a 6th grader, I think it was. So my mother is a Heraza, her name Cora, and my father was pretty much a Mandan Indian. And then this is my grandfather, who was a Mandan. Then those ladies up there are my grandmothers. That little girl was my auntie. The one next to her is my grandmother Ethel Tail. Next to her is my great-grandmother Minnie Gross. Next to her is my great-great-grandmother All Woman, all from the Mandan tradition. And so I always take my family with me. And again, like I said before, the reason I put this up was because it seems like one of my goals in the national park system is to get people involved. And we get them involved in many ways. We get them involved, first of all, by opening up our doors to many different cultures, if you will, not only from an employment standpoint, but also from a program standpoint. And some of the programs we hear, for example, here at Mount Rushmore, and being the first American Indian superintendent here, has been a very interesting challenge. I brought the American Indian programs in here. We're still not up to par. We're still going to do more of that. But we've also, the staff and I have created partnerships and work with folks like this over 50 program. Like what's their official word? 50 plus 50. I always get that mixed up. Sorry. And I'm very proud of that fact, because what that does is gives us an opportunity to add on more people to help us in our national parks. You know, we're facing a time period where people are not as interested in national parks as they once were. Right now we have tools to bring that in. One of the tools that just came out, of course, is the Ken Burns film about the national parks, and to bring interest back in. But I really believe that one of the things, for example, that Moore's organized and we got going is the Plus 50 program, which gives us an opportunity to educate those people who are, like me, 50 and over, maybe are looking to do something in their retired lives or something to do in their spare time, I think is what we're saying, right. And to come in and know what the Park Service is about, so they can come in and volunteer or come in and actually compete for some of the seasonal jobs, and that's very important for us. We have a challenge here at Mount Rushmore, I believe. Actually, not believe, I know, and that is the history behind the Black Hills. It's a very devastating history to American Indians, in particular the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota peoples, mistakenly now called the Sioux Nation. They are Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota. And the challenge is that they got forcibly removed from the Black Hills, which was their treaty territory. And because when Custer found gold here, it opened up for westward expansion. And so for many, many years, this has been a sore spot among, I'm going to say this, among all of us American Indians, coast to coast. And so for years and years and years, you know, I've always heard from people of my family, of people that from Indian communities, because they knew I was in the Park Service. They knew I was coming up in rank, and they would always caution me years ago of two places that I should not work at all. One of them was Little Bighorn Battlefield, then called Custer Battlefield, and the other one was Mount Rushmore. And the reason was Custer Battlefield is because, again, it's one of those places where when I worked, and I became the superintendent, obviously, at both places. When I came into Little Bighorn, or then Custer Battle, we were changing the name, and when we changed the name, we changed the opportunity for interpretation to bring on the Indian side of things. And like I said a while ago, that was a very difficult situation. We did it. It's always through the help of staff, which I had a great staff there as well. But again, it was a situation where I ended up, after 4.5 years there, when I left, I had 7 confirmed death threats on my life and my family's life because of the change we did there. Coming here was a lot easier in that I asked around before I got here, and I love telling the story because when they asked me to come here as a superintendent, it took me a while, and as I tell people, it took me 4 days to decide. And what I did is I called around the Indian communities that I knew. I called people that I worked with in Pine Ridge. I called people that I worked with in Lower Brule, Lakotas, Nakotas, and Dakotas, and all these different people I work with in tribal. I called them up and I asked them, including my own relatives, should I go to Mount Rushmore? And what I expected to hear, I expect them to say, don't you dare go there. You'll be the first Indian superintendent. You can be I might be called a traitor. I might be called an apple. And if you don't know what apple is, that comes from a 60s term of the AIM movement, which is white, red on the outside, white on the inside. And it's a derogatory term, obviously. Look Indian but act white. That's what that means. And so I was worried about that. Am I going to be perceived that way? And when I start asking around to the tribal elders of all different tribes, the main message I got back, in fact, 99% of the people, especially the grandmother types, would say, by all means, take that job. What a place to start the healing process between our cultures, bring them together. What a place to get rid of some of the bad feelings that we both have. Racism is alive and well, unfortunately, I think, in all of our states. It's very evident here in South Dakota because we primarily have two groups of people, the white and the brown, and that's it. So it's very evident, but again, racism is there on both sides of the fence. It's not predominant Indian, it's not predominant white, unfortunately, on both sides of the fence. And so the thinking was from the elders that if we can come in here, if I can come in here, and hopefully tell people to understand what this place is, this place being Mount Rushmore, this place being the Black Hills, what it meant to the people, why they are gone. One of our biggest questions here when I get visitors coming in here is, where are the Indians? Or in that case, we have Native American, but we're all Native Americans if we're born here. I'm an Indian. And so that was the main question. And so one of the first things we did here is organize a meeting with all the different tribal elders and the business councils. And from that meeting, we had a secondary meeting, which was the Elder Summit that we put a couple of years ago. And when the Elder Summit came in, we start hearing from the elders and talking with them as far as how do we tell the story here. And there's a lot of challenges in telling the Indian story here, a lot of challenges. You know, our first and foremost focus, obviously, is these 4 presidents, and the reason that they're here to celebrate the first 150 years of America. But again, what I did when I came here is push that back. We need to also understand how people lived here before white settlement. We need to understand the bitter truth of why did they leave, what caused that. We need to talk about the Fort Laramie Treaty. And those are tough stories. Those are really tough stories. We also have to understand the leadership that was evident by the 4 presidents here, what was going on during that time where they were at. For example, in 1776, when George Washington was doing his thing in the war, who was leadership here? And we can find that way through oral history, go back. And how was their leadership different from the white leadership? If we really study both of them, they weren't. They said they had the philosophy of taking care of their people, of taking care of their country, of providing for and protecting for. That's the bottom line, even of our families. And so if we take that all in context and put that together, there wasn't much difference as far as the philosophy of leadership and the philosophy of warriorness, if you will. Those four guys there were incredible warriors, incredible warriors. Indian leaders the same way. And so to make this available to everybody as far as bringing people on, again, it was very beneficial to a lot of us that we first met. Paige, my brother Paige, also is for a brief time the superintendent of Badlands. He's retired now, and he'll be leaving. But anyway, we all got together and we did talk about the program and the benefits of the Plus 50, and there are many benefits, and we are still working on getting more American Indians involved in that program. And one thing we've talked about, which is going to be a success, and I know my friend Dr. Moore is going to do this, and we're going to go to other reservations as well, and other parks. We got to look at Knife from Indian Villages, North Dakota. We got to look at Theodore Roosevelt, and we got to look at the tribes around them. Every tribe in this area has colleges as well, and if we can somehow bring them together under this leadership, which is fantastic, not only from the school but also from the staff, bring them together and create opportunities for the future. Community colleges, I totally believe in, because in California, that was my first 2 years. I went to community college. I went onto a big little college, I call it that, called College of Redwoods in California, which was a community college. Community colleges, like the school we're associated with now, is an opportunity, because the tribes look at that going there first. I'll be very honest, a lot of our folks, including myself, have a really hard time in big universities. There could be a long way from home. You know, our support base is gone, whereas in a community college, you know, it attracts, I think, the people that are most likely not to go to college. That's what community colleges attract, and so I see that as a stepping stone for a lot of our communities and our publics within those communities, and that again is cross-cultural. You see a lot of American Indians going. When American Indians go to school, it's not wise for only one or two of us to go. It's better for a bunch of us to go as a support base, and the community college supports that, and so that's where I think that would also really help us out, and it would be I think it'd be easier to work sometimes with the community colleges and so the smaller colleges that have a lot of minority staff or students, I should say, like your school does, and it does, and that's what helps out. So that's what we're going to start looking at.